Mythic raids are not the first way I would recommend getting gear in Dragonflight, but here's every way that you can get gear in this expansion and how far it will take you. First up is crafting. Crafting is great because you can usually find a lot of crafted items in the auction house super cheap to get started right when you hit level cap. However, using the crafting order system, a friend, or doing it yourself, you can target specific crafts that start around item level 330 and scale way higher by adding Titan training matrices. Currently, there are 4 levels of these in the game. Level 1 drops from rare mobs in the world, level 2 has a chance to drop from end bosses of normal dungeons, level 3 from heroic dungeons, and level 4 from mythic and mythic plus dungeons. You can see these items pop up as world quests from time to time too. These levels also vary greatly depending on how well crafted the items are, so take a look at this chart on screen now for more detail on how crafting quality affects the item level. There are even higher levels of gear that you can craft with sparks of ingenuity that can be taken well above item level 400, which require the aforementioned sparks, as well as primal chaos. If you're not sure where to get these, the sparks are from a now repeatable quest that starts here, and the primal chaos is obtained from many sources like raid bosses, dungeon bosses, and world quests. Make sure to check Wowhead for recommended pieces to craft using your sparks of ingenuity. If you feel comfortable with war mode on, you can even work on this one while leveling. Bloody tokens are dropped by honorable kills, and you'll get a big chunk of them from war mode chests that are dropped all over the Dragon Isle zones periodically. You'll know they're coming when you hear,
"Looks like you could all use some resources."
Then just look on your map, find this icon, and fly to it. If your faction wins the chest, just collect your bloody tokens, but be warned, you'll have to fight the opposing faction to get the rights to loot it. You can also get bloody tokens, or the gear they provide, periodically from world quests, so keep an eye out for those. Some of them you can do with war mode disabled, but note they are usually in a PvP enabled area, so watch out. Getting these bloody tokens allows you to purchase scalable PvP gear from Fieldmaster Embreth in the Gladiator's Refuge area in Valdrakken for a varying amount of tokens. Bonus, if you level with war mode on, you'll not only level faster, but if you manage to get any bloody tokens, you can start with at least a few pieces of 366 PvP gear once you hit level cap. Also note that this gear scales up to item level 408 in PvP. Aiding the Accord is a really simple weekly quest handed out by Therazol right in the main center of Valdrakken. This quest offers rewards that scale all the way up to item level 400, but the items in the chest are determined when you hand in the quest. Pick this one up at the beginning of the week, let it complete passively over time, then hand it in at the end of the week to maximize the loot that you get from it. Elemental storms are next. These are pretty simple. Just head to any area marked with a similar symbol to this and kill enemies there to earn elemental overflow. You can hand these in to get item level 359 gear. Any enemy in a primal storm also has a chance to drop a storm core, which can be brought to Rethilshi once a week for storm sigils. You can do this once per week per element, so 1 for air, earth, fire, and water, totaling 8 storm sigils. And you can trade varying amounts of storm sigils to upgrade your 359 gear to 385 gear. This isn't the most efficient way to get a set of gear, but it's not a bad way to supplement 1 or 2 pieces you're having a hard time getting. Also, if you're having fun with elemental storms, then just do them. Have fun. Next up, super rares. Super rares drop item level 385 gear and can be easily farmed in the Azure Span and Waking Shore. Their locations are on screen right now. They drop random gear that may not necessarily be usable by your class, so be warned there, but otherwise they're fairly quick to knock out since they're still being farmed pretty often. You can kill them for a chance at loot once per day, and check out the video description for a Weakauras that will help you track which ones you've already taken down. The Siege of Dragonbane Keep and community soup events are another great way to get some decent gear. Take a look at the screen for locations of both events, again in the Azure Span and Waking Shore. The soup event drops some super gear that scales up to 372, while the Siege can drop gear up to 382, though I have heard rumors that this might scale even higher. While you're in the area, also make sure to knock out a few of those super rares. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop. Similar to the other 2 community events, the Trials of Flood and Elements also drop gear that can scale up to about 379. The Trial of Flood in the Onaran Plains is here. The Trial of the Elements is a little trickier, requiring you to have at least completed up to the Primalist Future part of the main campaign, hopping back into that portal and heading here inside of a cave. They have a 2-hour respawn timer that starts as soon as the event is finished, so unfortunately they cannot be tracked, and those events can only be done once per week. Because of this, and the fact that the gear scales, you'll probably want to attempt them as close to reset as you can, so you have a higher item level when you do them. In order to do the events, all you have to do is be in the area when they start and fend off 4 waves of attacking enemies. Then you can loot the chest and get your gear. I would recommend doing the same thing with your world quests, by the way. World quests unlock on all characters once you complete the campaign with 1 character. However, like the trials, the longer you wait to complete any world quests that award items, the higher they can potentially scale up to, capping right now at 382. All right, now let's move on to all the stuff you can't do solo. Dungeons are one of my favorite activities in the game, and they award some of the best loot too. Normal dungeons are a decent source of experience while you're leveling and cap at 346 gear. Heroic dungeons drop 359 loot, Mythic 0 drops 372, and Mythic Plus dungeons scale all the way up to 405. The chart for which Mythic Plus dungeons drop which level of loot is on screen right now. You'll also notice that the second column on the right shows the Great Vault item level. The Great Vault rewards gear each week on reset day. The gear awarded from the vault is always slightly higher item level than the gear you got from the highest dungeon you did in the previous week. For example, if you ran 5 dungeons in a week and your highest completed dungeon was a plus 10, your vault would contain a 398 piece of gear. Note that you do not have to complete the dungeon in time to have it count for the vault. Also bear in mind that in weeks where you get a weekly quest, like Dungeon Week, where the weekly quest is to complete 4 mythic dungeons for a piece of heroic raid loot, you're better off waiting until you complete that to open your vault because you have a better idea of what you want to choose from the vault. Or you can be like me and get a cape from the vault, then get the same cape from the weekly quest, but as always, you do you. Next up is more mythic dungeon stuff. You didn't seriously think we were done with that yet, did you? Oh, well, there's actually just one more bit, so bear with me. Valor is awarded on completion of Mythic Plus dungeons, and it's an amazing resource because it allows you to upgrade any Mythic Plus or raid gear to a higher item level. That means the best in slot trinket that finally dropped for you when you were helping your friend complete a Ruby Life Pool is +2, and it's 15 item levels lower than the garbage trinket you have right now, and it can be upgraded to match your current gear. Or if you get a best in slot item early on, like in a +2, you can upgrade that as your character becomes more powerful too. To do this, head over to Corsian, pick the item you want to upgrade, and select what level you want to upgrade it to. The amount you can upgrade it past 392 eye level is gated by your Mythic Plus rating though, so the chart for that is on screen now. Still, if you're upgrading it past 392 eye level, you're probably not having any problems pushing higher keys anyway. All right, moving on to raiding then. Raiding is probably the most simple of these, at least from a gearing perspective. Beat boss, get loot. Well, maybe, if it drops, ever. Where are you, Evoker tier gear?
Okay, fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
Anyway, the item levels are a little more interesting this tier, with the first 4 bosses, middle 2 bosses, and the last 2 bosses all dropping different item level gear. Here's a handy chart of how it all breaks down. Raid Finder will drop gear from 376 to 385, Normal from 389 to 398, Heroic from 402 to 411, and finally Mythic from 415 all the way up to 424. Currently, the last 2 bosses on Mythic are the only way to get gear up to 424, outside of PvP anyway. And speaking of PvP, next is, well, PvP, obviously. You can buy PvP gear with honor from Selthorex here at a base item level of 340, upgradable to 366 by our old friend Corsian. However, class, as we know from earlier, you can easily get a set of gear with bloody tokens from World PvP that is already 366. So get lost, Selthorex. Corsian, you can stay though. We're gonna need you for the next bit. Rated PvP gear can be purchased from Selthorex's cooler brother Caldrax with Conquest and can be upgraded by Corsian for honor, not conquest. Might be worth it to do a few of those weekly PvP activities that award conquest just for a few nice 408 pieces. Bear in mind though that they're probably not going to be anywhere near best in slot for most classes. All right, that's all I got for today. Hope this helps you get some shiny new loot. Make sure to click all the things and check this video out next that YouTube knows you're going to love. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.